Hello and welcome back. We are Skeletal Lemons, and this is the continuation of Craniopagus by Copper Rose, Chapter 2. The waxwork building took to burning surprisingly quickly. John wasn't sure if Johnny was just particularly good at arson or if the building had always been such a fire hazard. Regardless, they stood there watching the building burn, puffing through a pack of cigarettes that they had managed to find while they were tossing the building. "Johnny, how long are we going to stay here?" John dared to ask eventually. "Surely you don't want to be here any more than I do?" "What, don't like a little bit of fire?" Johnny teased, though he didn't seem to get a laugh out of this. Perhaps he remembered the burn scar on their shared hand, because after a long pause he finally spoke again. "We didn't find the delivery men, whatever the fuck they were called." "Beacon and Hope?" John offered. "We didn't see their truck in the car park, or in the coffin in the building, for that matter. Perhaps they're out on a delivery, which means they'll see the fire and probably not stop back here if they do come back anytime soon," he guessed with a sigh. "Fuck, I was looking forward to smashing the creepy cockney bastards." "Apologies for your loss." "Oh, please, don't act it like you don't want them dead as much as I do," Johnny demanded. "I don't know if anyone could want to murder someone as badly as you do, Johnny." Johnny huffed at this and flicked away what remains of a cigarette. "Whatever, let's get out of here. We can take one of the cars and be back to the archive before morning if we ignore the speed limit just a bit." "Oh, yes, that would be nice, I suppose." John sounded a bit confused, but at least he wasn't arguing with him. "But what about Nicola?" "Who?" Johnny answered back, sounding baffled for a moment before it clicked. "Oh, the toy soldier. What about it?" "Right, the toy soldier. That's its actual name, then?" John sounded dubious of this, but carried on. "Regardless, you said the fire wouldn't kill it, so should we be waiting for it, or—" "Fuck no," Johnny snapped before he could say another word, now actively making his way to the nearest car. He tested the handle, but when it didn't open, he just huffed and moved on again. "Trust me, Nicola is obnoxiously good at finding me, no matter how hard I try to hide. It'll find us once it's reformed completely." He fiddled with two more cars before he finally found one that wasn't locked. With a triumphant little laugh, he climbed in the front seat. "There's always someone who's way too trusting or way too stupid to lock their door. I bet they've left their keys in here somewhere." It took only a little digging for Johnny to be proven right. A set of keys sat in their glove box, only the second place he bothered to look, and then they were on the road. They sat in relative silence for a while, but John couldn't help the burning question that kept playing over and over in his mind. "You said we were going back to the archive?" "Yeah." "Well, why? I assume you'd be rushing back to your spaceship at this point." Well, it's not like I know exactly where it is," Johnny snapped back, sounding more than a little defensive. "Besides, the archive is full of stories. They'll make for great songs." The second part almost sounded like he was grasping at straws, and John couldn't help but pry. "Johnny, what's going on?" he insisted. "I can tell you want this over with, and if I'm being honest, I think that's what I want too. So why aren't you looking for the Aurora?" Johnny gripped the steering wheel, and John could feel a lump growing in their throat, but he didn't answer, almost seeming to refuse to answer. After a long few minutes, John tried again. "Johnny, I don't know, okay?" he shouted back at him. "I don't know what's wrong with me or why I give more of a shit about getting back to your damn assistants than I care about getting back to my ship, but I do. I want to know if they're okay." "Why wouldn't they be okay?" "Because our boss is an evil psychopath." "Our boss?" Johnny brought his foot down, slamming on the brakes. Luckily, there wasn't another car in sight on the road, but John still found himself resisting the urge to scold him. "Would you stop talking?" he demanded. "No wonder so many people fucking want to kill you when you ask all these damn questions." "Johnny, you understand how this sounds, don't you?" He ignored the way he growled back at him and continued. "It sounds like you can't tell which of part of our memories are mine and which are yours." "Of course I can tell the difference," he insisted. "They're just blending together a little." "That can't be good. Not for either of us." "No, I agree, it's not," he sighed. "But unless I find Rafaela and have her get rid of you, we're going to have to make this work for now." The car started to move again, and they sat in relative silence for maybe an hour before John finally spoke again. "What did you mean?" The question is small, barely audible. Johnny had been in the middle of singing a rather bleak song about some sort of space tyrant taking a woman captive on her wedding day, and he almost missed the question entirely. Perhaps John would even have to let it go if he hadn't pretended he didn't hear him. But he did hear him, and answered back without really thinking. Meaning about what? The song? John hesitated for a moment before answering him. Getting rid of me. That's what you said. You would have Rafaela get rid of me? Oh, was all he said at first. His eyes glued to the road in front of him, like it might save him from this conversation, but he knew it wouldn't keep John from asking again, so why waste both their time? This experiment wasn't supposed to go this way. You, the new mind, was supposed to disappear when I finally woke up, or at least that's what Raph said. Right before she drugged me and put you in my head. I see, he spoke somberly. So, how long do I have before I start to fade? I don't know if you will. I don't understand. I think you being connected to that freaky eye thing fucked everything up, Johnny admitted. Like it forcefully is keeping you alive. It might even try to force me out, or force us to be one person. It's hard to tell. The eye, the strange, cryptic being that Elias worshipped and by extension, the rest of the Institute was forced to serve. John knew to some extent that the eye gave him a power, but couldn't really do such a thing. Make a real artificial mind? What would that mean for either of them? Would they really blend into one being, or would it be a fight for dominance? Truth be told, John didn't know if his force of will could overpower someone like Johnny. The man was brash and volatile and might hurt them both, or perhaps someone else if it meant that he got to keep his body. Might even hurt people in the Institute. No. That didn't need to happen. John didn't want to die, but he wouldn't put others at risk for him. Johnny, I don't want this to end in anyone else getting hurt, he confessed. I'd like to say I'm willing to fight you for my life, but I was just about ready to die when Michael offered it, so if you... Would you shut up? Johnny barked back at him. I can feel you freaking out in my head, and it's not helping me with driving. Right now, we're gonna focus on getting back to the archives, and then, I don't know, we'll make bucket lists or something. Bucket lists? John asked, baffled. Yeah, he shrugged. That's what people do when they think they might be dying, right? Make a list of all the things they want to do before they die. You know, they get all sentimental and shit. I suppose, but John hesitated for a moment and wondered if Johnny actually cared about any lasting wishes he might have. Well, if I'm being honest, I don't know what I'd put on a list like that. Seriously, nothing at all? Johnny laughed. Say goodbye, apologize for your mistakes, punch your bitch boss in the face, make up with that crush of yours that you've always been an asshole to. Hell, maybe even lose your virginity. You've always been embarrassed about that, right? John sputtered at that. I'm not some blushing teenager. I assure you, I don't have any kind of crush. And I'll thank you for minding your own business when it comes to my sex life. Not like it matters anyway, because apparently I've got nothing to be embarrassed about. And I'm sure you've had plenty of sex for the both of us. Johnny only laughs harder at this. But you know I've been in your head this whole time, right? I mean, bless your heart for trying to keep secrets from me, but that's not gonna work. You know what might work? Asking a blowjob for Mark. I will be doing no such thing, he answered back in a shrill tone. Besides, those types of things have never interested me before. And even if they did, it wouldn't be me doing any of those things. Or did you forget that you took your body back? Johnny went quiet to that, suddenly seeming to realize that he was right and that John had no control, so there wasn't really a point to this bucket list idea. But then, something odd happened. Their eyes went blurry and the smell of copper filled John's nose. It took him a moment, but eventually he could feel the steering wheel against his palms. He almost swerved off the road in shock, but held himself together just long enough to pull over to the curb. Johnny? He demanded, but he had to stop because he wasn't actually expecting the word to come out of his mouth. When he finally collected himself, he tried again. Johnny, what was that? I gave you control, he answered back, like it was basically nothing. Why? So you can't bitch out of making yourself a list, he told him matter-of-factly. If you're gonna waste what might be your last chance to at very least make out with Martin, fine. But don't act like it's me that's holding you back. Make out with Martin? He snapped at him. Don't be ridiculous. Why would Martin ever want to make out with me? He paused, realizing what he said Only a few minutes too late, but just in time to hear Johnny laugh from inside his head. "Oh, so you really think it's Martin's preference that is keeping you two from making this happen?" "What exactly is that supposed to mean?" John demanded. He was laughing at him again, and John was getting quite sick of the sound of it. "I'm just saying, that little crush of yours would be a lot farther along if you weren't such a wretched cunt to him all the time." John sputtered at that, unable to find the words to argue back. "But lucky for you, it's pretty clear with anyone with good sense, so everyone but you, that Martin is crazy about you," he informed him quite helpfully. "So my professional suggestion, as a proud omnisexual, who has pleased and been pleased by many a being, is to march into that archive of yours and let Martin know that you'll be taking him to dinner tonight." I'm his boss. I can't just..." "Who cares? One of us will probably be dying soon, and it ain't like your HR department can really fire you." John was quiet for a long minute, staring out into the distance, wondering if it would be easier to never go back, just abandon who he was and let the crew of the Aurora find him eventually. Rafaela will remove him without a fuss or a fight, and they'll go on with their lives, but there was also a part of him that very much liked the idea of asking Martin on a proper date and perhaps apologizing for how terribly he had treated him. He could try, right? Just a few days, or at least until the mechanisms finally find him, and if it didn't work out, it isn't like he was really losing anything. He wasn't even really a person at this point. Eventually, he put the car into drive and continued on down the road. Johnny made no sound in the back of their shared mind, but John knew he was still there. Now that he had been made aware of the man, it was impossible to ignore. No way to pretend like it never happened, that his life wasn't a complete lie. Even if John really did somehow completely take over their body. No, he would just have to accept that this was how it was now. He sighed. "This is going to be a long drive." And that is the chapter. Oh my god, holy crap, there is so much dialogue in this comparatively to other chapters, and I just have to say, it cracks me up a little bit, because since Johnny and John have just such minuscule differences in their freaking British accent, I have to have references on for both Johnny DeVille and John Sims up in my tabs, so every time I have to pause and listen over just their sound bites that I have saved, and every single time I have to record John, I'm just like, "Jonathan Sims, head archivist of the Magnus Institute, London," and it cracks me up. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I do, and I hope you have a good evening, good afternoon, and good night, and please drink water.